This is Bree Payton, education reporter for Watchdog.org, here today with Kate Walsh of the National Council on Teacher Quality.
Kate, thanks so much for being here today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So we're going to be talking with Kate about teachers being underprepared when they enter the classroom as a result of getting easy A's while they were studying to become a teacher. And the National Council on Teacher Quality has released a report today that details some of the findings and issues with this. So, Kate, are there teachers that are entering the classroom, ill-prepared as a result of a lack of rigor in their teaching degree programs?
Well, we know that all too many teachers are getting very high grades in their teacher preparation program. So they're graduating with a much higher percentage of academic honors than any other major on the campus. And that suggests to us that either teacher education is doing a remarkable job preparing all teachers to be ready for the classroom, but when you look at what first-year teachers have to say, that's not the case. First-year teachers routinely report that they don't feel prepared. Principals report that their teachers aren't prepared. And probably most telling, children who are assigned to first-year teachers don't do as well.
So can you break down some of the numbers for our viewers? How widespread is this problem of teachers graduating with much higher GPAs and honors at a much higher rate than students in other degree programs at the same school?
Well, we looked at a sample of 509 institutions, and that's about half the teachers who are prepared in the United States. And we looked at actually looked at commencement brochures. So we counted the number of teachers who graduated with academic honors, what we know as cum laude, summa cum laude, and we compared it to every other major on the same campus. So we were comparing apples to apples, and we wanted to see if teachers were the most likely to be graduating with academic honors, and at a majority of those institutions, it turned out to be the case. So teachers are 50% more likely to graduate with academic honors than any other major, than other majors on the campus.
Mm-hmm. And do you know how far back this has been happening? Has it been since like 1950, or I don't know, is there sort of like a year that you guys know is like, oh, this is when teachers started graduating with honors at a much higher rate?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one we don't have the answer to. Our sample of brochures came from 2011, 12, 13, and 14, not 14, 2010, 11, 12, 13 commencements. So we know it's a pattern that holds up over the last 4 years, but it would be a very interesting study to look at what was happening in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what initially kind of drew your organization's interest into, looking at this and examining, this phenomenon?
Well, all you have to do is look at a Twitter feed. You can see from the ed school majors that they talk about their work being very easy. It compares, it's in quite a stark contrast to other majors on the campus, at least by Twitter feeds. But we also had some hard evidence. There was some limited research done of several institutions by a professor at the University of Missouri at Columbia, and he found that the average GPA of ed school majors was way out of line with any other major on the campus. So that piqued our interest, and once we figured out that we could find out an answer through commencement brochures, we decided to pursue it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why do you think this is happening? What's the reason for it?
Well, there could be, there are a number of reasons, but what we thought turned out to be the most plausible was the type of assignments that are given to teacher candidates. And we were able to discern a very distinct category of assignments that we found correlated with higher grades. So we looked at courses that had actually higher grades, and we looked at the kinds of assignments. And there was a kind of assignment that was much more prevalent in those courses that awarded high grades. And that was true even outside of teacher preparation. We looked at this in other majors to see if these kinds of assignments led to higher grades. So this is something of interest for all of higher ed.
Right.
And we found when students are assigned work that requires them only to provide an opinion, or that they're not actually asked to demonstrate their knowledge or skills of a specific set of content, that it is much more likely the grades will be high. For example, it's pretty hard to say your opinion's worth an A and mine's worth a D. It's a very subjective thing, so they tend to get all A's.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. So do you think that, it's accurate to say that teachers are getting like inflated grades because they're just being given assignments, or that they're being given assignments a lot of times to give their like opinions on things?
Very common. It's very common for teacher candidates to only be asked their opinion about their view of how you teach children how to read or how to manage a classroom, whatever you want. It is a philosophy that is quite pervasive in much of teacher education, that no one is going to tell you a specific set of concrete skills or knowledge that you ought to have, that you as the teacher candidate will develop your own. So when all things are relative, it's very hard to say your grade's worth an A, my grade, the other person's grade is worth a C or a D. It's very hard to make those objective judgments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and have you found any reason why these kind of assignments are being assigned so frequently, or maybe some like factors contributing as to why like teachers would just ask teaching students to like give their opinion a lot?
I think the field has always struggled. The field of teacher ed has always struggled with accepting that there is a corpus or a core set of knowledge and skills that ought to be integral to any program, no matter where it's located, because the field has not accepted that there are specific strategies to managing student behavior that are more effective than others, or there's a specific method to teaching reading that is more effective than another. Then that opens a door, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't accept that there is a set of core knowledge and skills that teachers ought to know, then your students don't have to know much of anything, do they? They can just decide on their own.
Sure, yeah. And how does, so what is like this easy teacher preparation, what does it mean for the future of education and kids in the classroom, with these teachers who maybe aren't as prepared as they should be?
Well, this is the bottom line of the report, and that is, we don't really care that much whether teacher candidates are earning high grades. That's not the issue. But what it does send is a signal that's misleading to future teachers, that they're really ready for the classroom. And, when teachers go out, they finish a program, they've made all A's, and they get into that first classroom they've been assigned to, and it's like hitting a brick wall, and they feel totally unprepared, and their kids don't do as well as they could. We don't expect first-year teachers to be every bit competent as a more experienced teacher, but we know there's so much more that we could give new teachers that would allow them to start in the classroom hitting the ground running.
Right, yeah. So that leads to my next question, which is, how do you kind of fix this cycle of, poor teacher preparation leads to, kind of like underprepared in the classroom? How do you break that cycle?
Well, what I loved about this study was that it was the fix is so easy.
Okay.
And we don't have to put out complicated policy reports where we say you need to pass a law or you need new regulations. This is so easy because I know a lot of deans of schools of education tell us all the time our grades are too high. We don't know what to do about it. Maybe it's just grade inflation. It's not. This is worse than grade inflation. But this gives deans a tool that tomorrow morning they could sit down with their faculty and say, let's look at our assignments. Are our assignments asking teacher candidates to demonstrate their knowledge and skills? Are they really geared towards getting that new teacher ready for the classroom? And they can make fixes without a lot of committee hearings, without anything, and they can just simply adjust how their syllabi, their courses are delivered.
Okay, so you're just kind of calling for deans at colleges to just, kind of take a second look at the syllabi and the curriculum.
Yeah, we provide assistance to programs to show them how they could convert many of their current assignments that we see as prevalent and as being a problem for teacher candidates. We provide a resource to programs on how to convert them into better quality assignments. So we think that should be a lot of help. But this is an internal fix. This falls on higher ed. But that's great because it's within, they will have the authority and autonomy to act.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.